So how do you find Christ in yourself, even if you're not a Christian? Even if you're not a Christian, even if you're not religious, let's say you're atheist, you think you're atheist, or you think that you don't believe in the Bible, you don't believe in any religious doctrine, it's still possible to find Christ within yourself. I can tell you where you can start looking. So the first place that you start looking to find Christ within yourself is you look back on your life and you look at the parts of the times in your life when you were at your very best. Look at the times in your life when things were going the absolute best for you. Look at the renaissance of your life. If you look at the renaissance of your life and find the times in your life when you were at your very, very best, and you put your finger on that, and you can figure out what direction you were looking at the time, you will discover that if you double down on those things, that you will get right back on track in 2023. If you look at your life and the places in your life, and you look at your narrative and you think about the things that you can remember, there are two things that you remember. You remember the times in your life when you screwed up. Really bad things happen. It's hard to forget the really bad things that happen to you, right? People die, tragedy and suffering and all that crap happens in your life. And then you have times in your life when you look back and you have triumphant moments. You have moments of greatness that happen in your life. If someone says, well, I'm already that right now, we will get into that. But I would assume that the vast majority of people have moments where they're at their lows and moments where they're at their highs. They have moments of depression. They have moments of glory. They have moments where they feel like not a whole lot is happening. Okay. But it turns out Jesus Christ himself had those moments. He had moments of great suffering. He had moments of highs and lows and everything in between, because that's what it means to be human. But if you want to be on track with this, if you want your life to go in the right direction, what you probably should consider, especially if you're male, but that doesn't have to be just if you're male, right? Because this works for both men and women, is to consider the times in your life where you've had glorious moments. You've had moments that were epic in your life. Whether you see that as a higher power or not, and you pick out the parts that you understand in your life narrative where you've had the moments where you have felt like you were walking on air. I can give you a few examples in my life. I've had epic moments, and I look back on all of that, and I see there are moments of glory there, and then there are moments of a poo. Moments of poo, okay? And you're a pretty enlightened dude if you can see the glory in the moments of poo. I mean, I understand that. But in the moments where things are really working out for you, what you should really consider is what was going on at the time when these things were working out the best for you. Now, if you happen to be in a high moment right now, if you're riding high on meows or whatever, if you're riding high on meows, then maybe this message may not be for you. If you have moments of depression, which I know that most everybody does, and you have moments where, things aren't working out for you, one of the quickest ways to get back on track is to find a spot in your life where things were going right for you and go back to that point and ask yourself, why? Okay. And I suppose if you're an atheist kind of person, it's gonna be difficult for you. Even if you're someone who's not very religious, it's very important that you do that. Unless you're like high on some kind of drugs, unless you're doing like heavy mood boosting drugs, you're probably not 100% high 100% of the time, and you're probably going to have highs and lows throughout your days, your weeks, your months, and years ahead. Even though that your life trajectory is going in the right direction, anytime that you reach those lows, all you really have to do is go back to the points in which in your life, whatever it be the year or whatever it be the months in the past, where you felt as if you were walking on air. Now, when I go off track, sometimes it's really helpful for you to get back to the basics. You know, you get back to the core of what you're all about. Sometimes you may not see the immediate effect when you're doing your purpose. When you're doing your purpose, you may not see the immediate results. Just because you don't see the immediate effects of you following your purpose doesn't mean that you're not growing an apple tree. Because sometimes when you're talking about sowing seeds and watering seed, it takes a lifetime for them to bear fruit. Okay? Sometimes it takes a lifetime for it to bear fruit. So just because sometimes you think that you're doing something that it's not making a difference, it might be making a bigger difference than what you think. And in those moments when you're on your purpose, when you got your finger on your purpose, whatever that is, whether it be fun art, right? Whether it be a ministry, whether it be selling tacos, whatever it is your purpose is. When you're doing that, you can feel it. It's not just, hey, you know, I'm happy today, so I don't care. No, you feel a sense of satisfaction. You feel a sense of like you can do anything. That you are in line with what you're supposed to be doing, so time goes by differently. It's almost as if you are indestructible. And the reason why that is because whether you believe in the story of Christ, I've mentioned Christ, so I'm going to. So just think of it, if you have a problem with the story of Christ, think of it like a metaphor. But when you're looking in the direction of Christ, in your case, if you think you're an atheist, start looking in the direction of who you are when you're at your best. The Christ that's inside of you. When you're looking in that direction, you are unstoppable. You walk on water. The moment that you look the other way, you sink. Okay? The moment that you start looking the other way, you start to sink. There's a reality to that. You know what I mean? And you can choose to embrace it, or you can make it war. But the truth of the matter is that we all are at war with that. None of us are Jesus Christ. Okay? None of us are that. We are at war with that part of ourself that's Christ-like. And that's the nature of all the conflict that we come across. If you have faith in your purpose and you have faith in the best version of yourself, you're well on your way to being in touch with the Christ within you. Now, ultimately, that will reveal itself as you walk that walk. But when you start looking the other way and try to follow someone else's purpose, instead of your God-given purpose, but you go, I don't believe in God. Well, okay. Well, you could say what you were born to do, what you were born to be. As soon as you start deviating from what you were born to do and born to be, and part of that might be to be critical, right? Part of that might be to ignore these particular kinds of conversations for the moment. But the moment that you're deviating from what you were naturally inclined and born to be, following your purpose, that's when you start to sink. The purpose that I have in this live stream is to talk to the people who are present right now. And that's something that's true about your life. Every single person that you run into in life, your purpose, when they come to you, those are the people that matter, not the 10,000 people that you're thinking about that you're not currently in front of you. All right. So those are your purpose. So right now, you guys are my purpose. And you guys are here to teach me something. And hopefully, in exchange, I can offer something of value, something of high value in your direction. Yes, there's a Christ within you. There's a Christ within you, whether you like it or not. Even Mark Van Jones has to admit it's there. But there are many times that he might have 5 views, 10 views, 1 view. But if that 1 view might be the person that you're purposefully supposed to communicate with. And if I talk to 10 people about his video, and those 10 people talk to 10 people about that video, and then those 10 people talk to 10 people about that video, Son of Zion's video might only have, 5 views. But the reality of it is his actual influence might be tens of thousands to millions. So this is an illusion. This is a YouTube illusion. Okay, it's a YouTube illusion to think that the only people that see or are influenced by your content are the people who show up to your video in the immediate now, because it's not the case. The people that show up in the immediate now are the people I'm talking to. but the kind of influence that you have is just as large as the largest YouTuber or the largest person that has the most popularity on any internet platform. That's how interconnected we are as human beings. Okay, so you're looking at the situational things like, okay, you won the lottery, or something happened, you somehow you feel like you got lucky. But I'm about ready to burst your bubble. There's no such thing as luck. Okay? If you're one of those people who are flirting with this idea that there's no such thing as God or whatever, if you're flirting with that idea, then please flirt with the idea that there's no such thing as luck. Okay? There's no such thing as luck. Those situational things were placed before you, not because of luck, but because that's your destiny. It was your destiny. So how do you recreate? You don't need to recreate the situation. The only situation that you need to recreate is the thing that you can control. You don't try to control the uncontrollable. The thing that you can control has to do with your disposition, has to do with what you bring to the table. How are you thinking? How are you feeling? You don't have to recreate the situation. You only have to recreate the kind of heart that you had. Recreate what your spirit was like. Well, I don't believe in spirit. Recreate the brain then, man. Recreate the brain. Recreate the state of being, state of consciousness. Whatever it is that you're not going to be offended by that I'm going to say, recreate that. For those that are not offended, recreate the spirit. Recreate the kind of heart that you had when you were looking in that direction. And the rest will follow. Period. It's biblical if you're interested. Seek first the kingdom of heaven, and all things are added. I don't believe in that. Well, if you don't believe in that, you got a problem with that, then try it. You could try it. Look the other direction and see what happens. Go ahead. See what happens. Right? You want to learn the hard way. But the truth is that if you seek first the kingdom of heaven, which is looking at your purpose on this earth, what you were born to be, follow that path, and everything else will fall into place. You don't have to worry about the situation. It don't matter what the situation is at that point, because you will be good to go. Because there is some truth to karma. You could say thank God, right? If you it's a G word, that everything that we think doesn't manifest instantly. Thank goodness, I'll just say goodness. Thank goodness, right, that we are not granted every wish that we utter. Because if we did, we would be in a world of crap. So there's a thing called grace, where when we make mistakes, we're not always punished severely. Every time you did something at home, if you were punished to the absolute severest level, that's not evidence of love. In this life, we make errors and we make mistakes, but we're not always given the most severe punishment for every single error that we make. And that says something about our path, that there is karma involved, but we also have opportunities to right the wrongs before they become big problems. There are grace periods there because the people that love you are understanding and patient with you. The people that don't love you have no patience. So if you have the capacity to give or feel love, or have the patience and have the kind of the heart of forgiveness, and not just forgiveness in the sense of like forgiveness and I still hold a grudge, but forgiveness in the sense that, you know what, I'm going to see you as you are now instead of judge you as you were then. I see you as you are now, because believe it or not, it's like every so many years you're like a whole nother person. The only part of you that stays the same is the person you were born to be. The only part of you that stays consistent over the span of your life is the person that you were born to be. The rest of it falls apart. All right. And that's why if you go too deeply within your own heart and you find the best of yourself, and one of the tricks to do this, now depends on which stage of your life you're in, is to look at your condition of your heart at each of these stages of your life and go, this is where I was at my best. Why? We're more than the sum of our actions. We're more than a situation. We are destined for greatness. And regardless of what you believe in, I gotta say, I believe in you, man. Right? I don't care if you don't believe in yourself. You could say up and down the stream, it's like, I'm so atheist, I don't believe in myself. And I'll be like, I still believe in you. All right? Because what you've done for me has been awesome. And you make me want to go back and bring out the best in myself. You inspire me to go, you know what? I need to pull out when I was looking in the right direction. I need to pull that out and I need to run with it. I want to honor my mother and father. And I don't care if it offends people that it happens to be biblical to do that. The Bible says honor your father and mother. Well, I'm not a Christian, so I'm not going to honor my father and mother. That'd be really stupid. Instead of doing that, I'm honoring my father and mother because it's the right thing to do, whether it's in the holy text or not. Whether it's in the holy text or not, I honor my mother and father, and it is absolutely my purpose to be the best that I can be, whatever that is. And whenever I'm not doing that, things go down the toilet. And that's true about everyone. Regardless of whatever happens in your life, regardless of what happens tomorrow, you guys have fulfilled a great purpose already. But the more that you guys are in line with what you're naturally inclined to be good at, which is stuff that I'm not, by the way. There are things that you guys are good at that I'm just not. The people that you guys are around say a lot about who you are. What I mean by that is if you want to get in touch with the part of yourself which is aligned with your purpose. If you look deep into yourself and you find that part of yourself that's related to Christ, which is connected to your purpose, and you just look at throughout your life and go, this is when I was at my best. This is when I'm feeling like I'm most satisfied. This is when I'm feeling like I'm walking on air. This is the highlight reel of my life. I can give you lots of examples in my life that way. Like when I was in high school, it's like past life self, you know. I was really in chaos, and I really didn't know myself like most people in high school don't know themselves. But there was a talent show that I participated in. And in that moment, I had a flicker of greatness. I had a spark where I kind of felt the real person that I really was. And there was something connected to my purpose in that performance. And when I look back on it now, it makes a lot of sense. So there are times in your life that there are flickers of it. And you can feel that you're on the right track. And all you got to do, you can't change the situation. I'm not resurrecting my mother from the dead, okay? I'm not resurrecting my brother from the dead, necessarily. I'm not resurrecting anybody from the dead, okay? But what I can do is I can put my heart in the right place. I can put my heart, my mind, my spirit in the same kind of place that I was when I was having those moments of glory. You know what? If you're fortunate to have Christ manifest in your life, good for you. Right? But if you're having problems with that, the best place to start is start with looking at yourself. Because unless you don't believe in yourself, then you're good. If you have some belief that you exist, you will find that Christ in yourself. And there's no way that you can surgically remove it. Okay? It's kind of like the people who want to have the sex change surgeries, you know? You can go, well, I'm not really a man. I don't believe that. So then they cut their wiener off. Well, they think that they've surgically removed their manhood, but they haven't. They're still a man they're just a man without a wiener. Don't be a man without a wiener. Embrace the Christ within yourself. I'm not resurrecting my mother from the dead. Okay? I can't bring back that situation. But there is something about my mother's purpose that is connected to my purpose, that if I deny that, then I deny the very reason why I was born. And I really hope that doesn't offend people in here. But if it does, the best I can do is just assure you that you are being very useful by coming in here and trying to set me straight. If you guys can come in here and convert me to Islam and you're successful, I'll take it. But it's going to be really difficult to do it. Okay? But I will listen. If you're going to quote the Quran at me, I'll listen. If you're going to quote, Richard Dawkins, I'll listen to you. Because I have a high respect to every person who shows up to this, because you have to be at least as great as I am, if not greater, to even be talking to me right now. There's no doubt about that. You guys are my guru. And For those of you who believe in God, God sent you to me. And if you don't believe in God, then you could just say, you're doing me a favor by coming into my life and making vast changes to my benefit. And sometimes people go in and out of your life and you're wondering why that is. It's because it has to do with your state of heart. There are people that I've known in the past that would be the furthest thing away from rant jams as possible. They want to be as furthest away from me as possible because they don't want to be listened to. My New Year's resolution is for me to get back to being the best that I can possibly be. And that's going to take some work. And what I mean is getting my heart and mind in the right place to where I can be a little more useful to the people in my life. Because I can't help but to praise God in my case. My mother, I mean, whether or not you believe in God, if Donna Shaw was your mother, you'd believe in God. All right. So, I mean, if you have it, and you would go, luckily Donna wasn't my mother, so I don't believe in God. You could say that if you want to. But if Donna Shaw was your mother, you would be a believer in Christ. You may not believe in all the doctrines. You might have a problem with that, but my mom lived on miracles. My mom survived. Her basic survival required miracles that atheists don't think are possible. Just to survive, just to make it from day to day, just to pay her rent, just to every single thing. Cars have exploded moments after she left them, all right, because God told her to get out of the car. So absolute survival depended on that. So you would believe in that if she was your mother. Now, she's not your mother, so you don't have to. And that's great. But there's no doubt about it that there is a God. But you don't have to Bible thump it. You don't have to be like obsessed with the doctrine. I'm just saying that I can't not believe in God because I've already seen God. Okay? Does that make sense? If God appeared before you, said, hey, I'm God, right? And you knew 100% that was God, you could not unbelieve in God after that. That'd be it. As much as you would want to not believe in God, like you'd be like, I kind of do. You might have a hatred towards him or whatever, but my mom lived a life like that. I've lived a life like that. And there's a good chance because of inheritance that my kids are going to live a life like that. So that's the reason why I can't put God down in my live stream. That's the reason why. Because I'd be shooting myself on my own foot. If Allah appeared before me and lifted me up into heaven and be like, Islam is the way to go, right? You're either going to believe in Allah or you're going to believe in aliens. You're either going to believe that a UFO abducted you or you're going to believe in aliens. You're not going to believe that didn't happen, okay? You're not going to believe that, right? So there are people out there in this world, and you can investigate this. Like I said, it's part of my duty to do this. But there are people out there in this world who have seen God, and you can go ahead and you can doubt that if you want. And that's okay. But from their perspective, there's nothing that you can do to convince them otherwise, because it'd be like convincing you that you're not a conscious being. It'd be like, Mark Flynn Jones, I don't believe you exist. I believe that you're a robot, that you're basically not conscious and you're not seeing the world in first person. And then you argue up and down that, yeah, I am conscious and I'm my brain and I'm seeing myself in first person. Well, I don't believe that you're real. I think that you're, but no matter how much I try to convince you that you're not a conscious being with free will, you're always going to rebuttal me with, yes, I am. You know why? Because I'm experiencing that right now. And that's the problem with this debate about whether God exists or not, because it's not a debate for people who've seen God. Okay, it's no longer a debate. All right, but I could have a live stream for 5 hours going through my mother's life with miracle after miracle after miracle. You'd think I was quoting like the book of Matthew to you. Seriously, you would think I'd be like, man, there is no way that any of that happened. Right? But if you were there, you would have seen it happen. Okay, you would have seen it happen, and you would have experienced it happen. And wow, what kind of responsibility does that give me? It gives me the responsibility that I can't just lay down and just deliver McDonald's all the time. I can't just be a Walmart employee. I need to do a little bit more than that, because the more that you're given, the more that's required. And I'm not out here to convince anybody any kind of religion. All I was saying is that for those who have seen God, the debate's over for them. Okay, the debate's over for them. And those who haven't seen God, the debate continues. One day they may or may not see God, you know. But those who've seen God, you know, there's no debate. It's really tough to defeat that debate. It's a tough debate. Okay. But to me, even if you don't believe in a particular doctrine, I don't care about all that. But there are some principles though there that I think that are useful. That even if you think that God isn't real, know that there's a Christ within you, and that Christ within you is a carpenter, just like Christ. And you'd have to quit being a carpenter to completely remove any affiliation of Christ. And everybody's on a different journey. I respect your journey because every single person out there who has any kind of disagreement with me means that they have a lesson just as amazing to teach me in reverse. That means if you disagree with me, that means you guys have something incredible to teach me. Like, I'm like, whoa, man. There's something beautiful about someone who loves their work so much that the work is eternal. Man, that's a beautiful thing. To have a passion for what you do. There's something about that that's Christ-like. There's just something about that that's Christ-like, and it's hard to explain. The thesis one more time. All right, the thesis is, find the Christ within yourself, regardless of whether you're a Christian or not, because that is your purpose. That is where it's at. That's the version of you that can accomplish anything that you want in this life. Because what you want, the thing that you really want in this life is exactly the same as your purpose. But you can go back, if you're in a low in your life, you go back to parts of your life where you were at your best. You had moments of greatness, moments of glory, and ask yourself, these were different, radically different situations, but where was your heart? Where was your mind? What were you focusing on? Those kinds of things will help you bring that back out. I'm going to fuse the fun art with purpose and get myself to being in the right heart state of mind to be at the best version of me that I could possibly be.